Welcome back. Time to react to week number 7. A week filled with some bad refereeing, which is pretty common these days, but that decided the outcome in a couple of games, possibly. And a week of teams that were quote unquote tanking that actually won. That includes the Bears, that includes the Patriots in an upset, that maybe includes my Giants if you want to put them in there. That includes the Broncos, some teams out here competing for a potential top 5 pick or whatever that go on to win. So that's interesting, but a lot to get into. A lot of teams were on bye, so maybe this will be a quicker video, but I hope you guys enjoy, and let's get into it. By the way, I'm going to put the timestamps in the description for every game. I know that's probably much easier, so I'm going to do that. Harder for me, but easier for you guys, and I'm a man of the people sometimes. I try to be. Anyway, Thursday night gave us the Jaguars at the Saints. Coming into it was a bit interesting because Trevor Lawrence seemed like legitimately questionable. Like CJ Beathard was possibly going to start, but probably around like noon on Thursday, they were like, yeah, Trevor Lawrence should be fine. So they put him out there, and he actually ran the ball a couple times, which was kind of not on the menu to to put it that way, because we thought he was injured, but he ran the ball 8 times for 59 yards. I mean, it's not bad for an injured knee, So he outrushed Travis Etienne, who had 14 carries. But this game is pretty much going to be known for the potential game-tying drop touchdown by Foster Moreau, a guy who, of course, I believe had cancer in the offseason, so that's, obviously pretty shitty situation to put it bluntly. But, that could have been a potential game-tying play, hit off his fingertips. And this game will also be remembered for the Saints offense completely being broken, but on national TV. Now, they ended the game with 24 points. And as I said, based on the drop touchdown, it probably should have been 31. But just a really weird offensive day for the Saints. It seems like their only play is to dump the ball to Alvin Kamara or throw the ball out of bounds and watch Derek Carr complain. So it's a tough offense to watch, but the Saints had this weird touchdown drive where, once again, they were getting nothing going. But the Saints somehow had this 3-play touchdown drive where it was Michael Thomas for 17 yards, Taysom Hill for 19 yards, and then Michael Thomas for 17 yards, and that was it. They scored a touchdown. So they finally moved the ball on some big explosive plays. But aside from that, their offense was very tough to watch. The Jaguars got off to a nice start. I mean, they were up, 17-6. I mean, they got off to a good start. Derek Carr had a pick 6 to Foye Oluokun, returned for 24 yards. But the Saints did manage to come back from 24-9, made it a game. And of course, it came down to some of the final plays. But their red zone offense in New Orleans is so bad. Let's see, update here. Jerome Ford has a low-grade ankle sprain. Okay, I guess that's good. Anyway, but their red zone offense is so bad that their solution was to bring in Taysom Hill to run behind a defensive tackle, and that actually worked for them a couple times. They brought in some defensive tackle, number 99, and Taysom Hill ran behind him, and it actually worked out both times. So maybe that's their red zone go-to play because Derek Carr cannot operate in the red zone for his life, it seems like. But I don't feel bad for the Saints. It's kind of like, what you signed up for. You signed up for a mediocre quarterback, brought him to a pretty mediocre roster, and you get mediocre results. You're now 3-4. So, I mean, the Saints cap is in hell right now. I mean, at some point, you can't keep kicking the can down the road. They have to, kind of pay their consequences at some point. So I don't know when it's going to happen, but the Saints are not in a good spot right now. They play in this easy division, but the Falcons right now are in first place. The Buccaneers are above them technically as well. But the Saints, schedule is so easy going forward. Colts, Bears, Vikings, Falcons. Lions is a bit tough, of course. Panthers, Giants, Rams, Buccaneers, Falcons. I mean, aside from the Lions, every game they might be favored in, I mean, maybe not at the Rams, but still, it's a very easy schedule going forward. So the Saints have no excuses. They should be able to make the playoffs, but I don't have the highest hopes. As for the Jaguars, you hopefully get Lawrence healthy going forward. He looked pretty good in this game once again, and they improved to 5-2. Falcons at Buccaneers, a huge game for NFC South implications. I think this was for first place going into this game. But a 16-13 win for the road team, almost at Arizona Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons come away with a 16-13 victory. It was a field goal fest for the most part. It was, the first two scores were touchdowns. The Mike Evans pass for 40 yards, the Desmond Ridder 2-yard rushing touchdown. But from there on out, it was all field goals, and it came down to a game-winning field goal, 51 yards from Younghoe Koo as time expired. No doubt that Younghoe Koo was going to make that. These offenses are both disgusting. Like, the Buccaneers last week put up 6 coming off the bye. It was against the Detroit Lions, who have a good defense. I mean, not this week, but, at least at that time. But even the Falcons, their offense is so frustrating. There's the whole Bijan Robinson thing, how if you had him in fantasy, I'm sorry. I have 4 fantasy teams. Bijan's on 3 of them. I still won 2 leagues somehow with Bijan on my team, but the guy had 1 carry. We had no idea going into it. Apparently, he had a bad headache, which I guess was a migraine. But Bijan finished with 1 carry for 3 yards. I mean, come on. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. But Cordell Patterson came in, 10 carries for 56 yards, so 5.6 a carry for the old man, Cordell Patterson. That's good to see. A really bad interception by Baker Mayfield. I'm trying to find what the situation was. I believe they were down 3, the Buccaneers. They were on Atlanta's 26, so in field goal range, can't make a mistake. And Baker Mayfield, instead of taking the check down, which sometimes is his problem, he's too aggressive. He pushes it downfield. Richie Grant intercepts it for the Falcons. But they forced a punt. They got back into field goal range, the Buccaneers. They were able to make a 36-yard field goal with Chase McLaughlin. And Desmond Ridder had another shot at a game-winning drive, and he came through. A 39-yard catch by Kyle Pitts basically put them in field goal range. And Younghoe Koo, as time expired, from 51 puts it through. Kyle Pitts also had an unbelievable catch. It was only like a 5-6 yard gain, but Desmond Ridder threw the ball behind Pitts, and he kind of had to pin it on his back hip. It was like a really awesome catch. So when you have a bad quarterback who can't hit you in stride, those kind of things will happen. So, for Ridder, I don't know how they keep winning these games with him, but they're doing it. So I guess, shout out to the Falcons. I did pick them to win this division before the year started, and I should feel good about this now that they're 4-3, but they feel like such a fraudulent 4-3, and I can't stand their head coach because I just feel like with these weapons, you should be so much better than a team putting up 16 points in a game like this. I mean, I know Desmond Ridder's a big problem, but even then you have Taylor Heineke sitting behind him who could be a better option right now. So I don't know. It's kind of frustrating what's going on with the Falcons right now, but it's nothing new. I want to see if I have any notes about the Falcons to talk about real quick. I mentioned the Bijan thing, the Baker interception, Younghoe Koo. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just right now they're in first place in this division. The Falcons are 4-3, Buccaneers are 3-3. They had a bye already, so we'll see if Atlanta can keep it going. They get the Titans next week on the road, but Malik Willis is starting in all likelihood, so the Falcons probably should be able to win that game. The Buccaneers are at the Buffalo Bills on Thursday. You would think the Bills can win that game, but who the hell knows with them? But yeah, I would think Buffalo wins. They're 7.5-point favorites, so in all likelihood, the Buccaneers probably fall to 3-4. The Raiders were at the Bears, probably the toughest game to watch, at least coming into the week. I think there were worse games, but coming into the week, it seemed like this game was going to be the toughest one to watch. But the Bears actually gave us 30 points. They get their second win of the year. They beat the Raiders 30-12. A quarterback matchup that started as, what's the guy's name? Tyson Bagent, the guy who was at the Division II college last year. So he was playing D2 college football last year. Now he's starting in the NFL for the Chicago Bears. Pretty cool for Tyson Bagent, if I'm saying that right. Brian Hoyer started for the Raiders. I have no idea. What is the point of a Brian Hoyer starting in 2023? I don't know. He was 17-32, 129 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And I think one of those was a pick six, actually. I forget. Let me see real quick. Scoring plays. Let's see. Could have sworn someone had a pick six on the Oh, here it is. So Jalen Johnson. Yes, Jalen Johnson in that long. He confused the hell out of me because Jalen Johnson wears this long sleeve orange shirt. And it looks like he's wearing a different uniform from the teams on the field. So it really threw me off for a bit. But Jalen Johnson had a 39-yard pick six on Brian Hoyer. I mean, the offense was basically Deonta Foreman of all people. I actually started him in fantasy, so that worked out well. He definitely made up for Bijan Robinson being ass, so thank you to Deonta Foreman, who had 3 touchdowns in this game. Foreman ran the ball 16 times for 89 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 1 receiving touchdown, 8 catches, 54 yards for DJ Moore, so a lot of short targets there. They tried to get Davante Adams involved. He was 7 catches, 57 yards, and did have a bad touchdown drop. So if you have Davante Adams, I'm sorry, but that was a rough touchdown drop by him. You don't see that very often from him. The Raiders probably get Jimmy G back next week. I'm pretty sure that was what they were saying before this week. So hopefully for their sake that happens, because watching Brian Hoyer and Aiden O'Connell is not that fun for them. But, the Bears get a win. And it's funny, ever since trading Chase Claypool, they're now 2-1. And Chase Claypool's 0-15 since, he was traded last year to the Bears. And I think that includes playing for the Dolphins last night, who, of course, lost. So just a rough time for Chase Claypool, who almost is basically losing for an entire season. 1 more loss, or 2 more losses now, because it's 17 games. Chase Claypool is 2 games away from being 0 for his last 17 in his games played. So that's a shame. But, not high on the Raiders, of course. Not high on the Bears. It all depends about draft position for these guys. So the tank battle, the Raiders won. The actual game, the Bears won. This was the most entertaining game of the entire week, no doubt about it. We figured it would be the Eagles and Miami Dolphins game, but that was not the case. This game is tough to beat. The Browns were at the Colts. The Browns were 3.5-point favorites when this closed. And I figured the Browns would win this one pretty easily. I was kind of confused as to why the spread was so close. I figured, hey, probably Browns -6.5. I mean, we had Minshew throw 3 interceptions last week. He looked horrible. But, the Browns defense was confusing in this game because there were times the Browns defense looked absolutely tremendous. Myles Garrett right now has to be the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year. I believe he had a strip sack, fumble, and that was for a touchdown. He also had a blocked kick where he jumped over the line and blocked the kick. I mean, that's just like superhuman type stuff from him. So he was a game record. I'll try to find his complete stats in this game, but he was absolutely tremendous. Let's see. Defense. Myles Garrett, here he is. Myles Garrett had 9 total tackles, 7 solo, 2 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 pass defended. I mean, that's a game record right there. And, of course, the block kick. So the bad news is, and I've been holding out hope that this guy can return to his former self when he was playing like an elite quarterback in the league, but Deshaun Watson, I think, is pretty much done. I don't know what else to say. He's only 27, 28 years old, but between the rotator cuff injury, between the off-field stuff, which I'm assuming has just gotten to him mentally at this point, it's just tough to imagine him getting back to what he once was. I just feel like it's over. I don't know. The Browns made the investment. They paid him all that money. They made the trade. They traded a ton of picks for him. And it seems like Houston made out very well. They get C.J. Stroud, a bunch of draft picks, and it seems like Deshaun Watson is a shell of himself at this point. There's just nothing much else to say. It's pretty sad. I feel bad for him on a human level. Of course, some of the things he did were not that good. I don't know if it was ever proven true or not, but still. The off-field stuff for Deshaun Watson's now following him, and it's just it's a bad situation. The Browns are kind of stuck in this for at least a couple more years. He has a big contract attached to him, and he just looks horrible. In this game, he threw 1 bad interception. He almost had another bad interception on the play he got hurt on. So he went down, was tested for a concussion. He passed concussion protocol, so he could have went back in the game, but Stefanski held him out, and they put P.J. Walker in, and he actually won the game for them. I mean, kind of won the game for them, or the refs. So let's get to that. So there was a play. So there was an illegal contact call with 47 seconds to go. It was a 3rd and 4 on Indy's 13-yard line, and the Browns were down by 5 points, so they needed a touchdown. Final seconds of the game. A very bad call, and there was another bad call after that. I believe there was one play where PJ Walker threw the ball like way over somebody's head. It was Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think I wrote it down somewhere. Yeah. So Donovan Peoples-Jones had this ball go 10 feet over his head, and for some reason, the refs call a penalty for pass interference when the ball was nowhere near catchable, and everybody watching that game knew it. I just don't know why that was called. Just one of the worst pass interferences you'll see. So the Browns get the ball on the 1-yard line. The Colts were able to cause a few incompletions. On 4th down and 1 on Indy's 1-yard line, final play of the game potentially, Kareem Hunt ran in a touchdown to make it a 39-38 Browns lead. They failed the 2-point conversion. The Colts got the ball back with 15 seconds to go, and on the second play, Gardner Minshew fumbled. He was sacked by Zadarius Smith, and that was it. So I feel like the Colts kind of got hosed by the refs here, and nothing new. I feel like this happened with the Rams as well. We'll get to that later. So the refs were not too kind to certain teams out here. But yeah, the bigger picture is the Browns are they're not completely screwed because there is a chance Watson is fine, but I'm kind of out on him. I kept holding out hope that he would return to that guy he used to be. I was able to look past last season because he came back midway through. He had not played for a year and a half. I was giving him the excuses, but now there's not much I can say. He has not been good. There's nothing I can say. He's in a pretty ideal situation. A good offensive line, solid receivers, a solid running game, and he's just not getting it done. It sucks for the Browns and their fans who definitely deserve better. But yeah, as for the Colts, they fought really nicely in this game. Too many turnovers offensively, the blocked kick and all that type of stuff, but they did fight. They put up 38 points, but the Browns get themselves a 1-point victory to improve to 4-2. The Colts fall to 3-4. The New York Giants hosted the Washington Commanders. The Giants come away with a 14-7 victory, improving to 2-5. The Commanders drop to 3-4. I had a lot of confidence in the Giants winning this week. I usually don't. You guys know I'm a pretty pessimistic fan for the most part, but this felt like a game that the Giants were going to take. They probably should have won this game by way more than 7. There was a Saquon Barkley fumble in the red zone. There was a missed field goal by Graham Gano. So they could have easily had 20-something points in this game, but it came down to the end. There was a 4th down pass by Sam Howell, incomplete to Jahan Dotson, that would have put Washington inside the 3-yard line, but luckily Howell threw behind Jahan Dotson, and that was it. Tyrod Taylor took a few knees, and that was it. So the Giants found a way to win as 3-point underdogs. Saquon Barkley looked pretty good for the most part once again, had a nice receiving touchdown. Tyrod Taylor is running this offense very well. 18 of 29, 279, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers, did take 4 sacks. The Giants' offensive line is still not perfect by any means, but Tyrod Taylor is helping them look a little better. Sam Howell was sacked 6 times. That man is just in love with sacks. Pause. But he's on pace to break the record by a lot. It's not even close. He is on pace to break that David Carr sack record by 15 sacks. The guy has to, kind of cool it with that. It's crazy. So Terry McLaurin had 90 yards. He played well. Darren Waller, 2 yards short of 100 yards, scored his first Giants touchdown as well. Jalen Hyatt making a couple big catches for this offense. So, the Giants are kind of finding their way. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens when Daniel Jones is medically cleared to come back. That may happen this week, could be the week after, maybe never. I don't know. We have no idea about this situation. The Giants are not too transparent when it comes to, communicating the injuries to the media, but we'll see if and when Daniel Jones is back. A lot of Giants defenders deserve a shout-out. Bobby Okereke looks like a great signing still. Kayvon Thibodeau has been playing very well since about week 3 or 4. The rookie Deonte Banks had his first career interception, the first-round pick. Leonard Williams had a great game. He had a sack. He had 2 solo tackles. He had a blocked kick. So Leonard Williams stepped up in this game. Dexter Lawrence had 2 sacks. He was awesome. So a lot of Giants defenders were great in this game. And another great defender was Chase Young. Chase Young had 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. So he was great versus Justin Pugh straight off the couch. But yeah, a good win for the Giants. So we don't have to worry about tanking right now. The Giants get the Jets next week. That'll be fun. We'll see which quarterback is out there. As I said in my reaction to this game last night, I do believe Tyrod gives them the best chance to win. But based on the optics and the politics and based on the contract especially, it's going to be Daniel Jones playing when he's back. Next we have the Detroit Lions at the Baltimore Ravens. This was supposed to be another fun, close, pretty high-scoring game. It was Baltimore -3, and it did not end up like that at all. The Ravens jumped out to a massive lead, 35-0 lead by the middle of the third quarter. And honestly, this is one of the better games I've ever seen from Lamar Jackson. It kind of reminded me of Josh Allen a couple weeks ago against the Dolphins. He had a flawless game there. This game from Lamar Jackson kind of reminded me of a, similar thing. Lamar in the air, or through the air as they say, was 21 of 27, 357 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 passing touchdowns, no turnovers, and I believe he had a rushing touchdown. He did. 9 carries, 36 yards, and a rushing touchdown for Lamar Jackson. So he was tremendous. On the second touchdown pass Lamar had to make it 14-0, it was a 12-yard touchdown pass to Nelson Agholor on a 3rd and 3 from the 12-yard line. He must have extended that play for about 8 or 9 seconds, and it was just amazing. He was in the pocket, gave it time, spun out, went to the right, then drifted back to his left. He went across his body to Agholor. It was such a great play by Lamar Jackson. I know a lot of times he'll take criticism as a passer, but in this game specifically, Lamar was incredible as a passer. 2 touchdowns for Mark Andrews. Even Gus freaking Edwards had an 80-yard reception. You can't make it up. Like Gus Edwards, has he ever had even more than like a 30-yard reception? Like 80 yards is crazy. So I don't know what the Lions defense was on in this game, but that's rough. I mean, I don't get many things right, I guess, but this one I nailed. I was all over the Ravens for this game. Put a nice $20 on them. I think it was money line. No, I think I picked the spread. So Ravens -3. Probably made myself about, $38 or something, so that was nice. But yeah, I mean, the Ravens, I feel like, are a team that they're pretty underappreciated. They kind of feel like a team where, we kind of have like fatigue with them, because the Ravens, of course, when Lamar had his breakout year in 2019, that was supposed to be the year. Then 2020 was supposed to be the year. Then 2021 was supposed to be the year. Last year, Lamar got hurt again, didn't play in the playoffs. I think, did the Ravens make the playoffs? I forget. But Lamar didn't play. So even if they did or didn't make the playoffs, Lamar missed the rest of the year. So people are kind of out on the Ravens, I feel like, but they're a really good team. They're like a top 6 or 7 team in the NFL right now. They don't have many weaknesses on that roster. Like, they have a lot of defensive depth with good veterans, Jadeveon Clowney, Kyle Van Noy, Michael Pierce, whoever. Like, they have good veteran defenders. Offensively, they're not the most talented team. They have average running backs, but when you have Lamar Jackson, you can get by with that. Their receivers are nothing great. Like, Odell does not look like the same guy he once was, obviously. He had 5 catches for 49 yards. Rashad Bateman had 2 catches for 36 yards. But Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, I mean, they're making it work. I mean, yeah, Gus Edwards led the team in receiving, 1 catch for 80 yards. You just cannot make it up. But, you got Kyle Hamilton, you got fast linebackers, Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen. Like, they make it work there. Like, they're actually like a serious contender. Like, I was probably a bit too low on the Ravens. I forget where I had them in the preseason. I forget if I had them making the playoffs or not now. I know I picked the Steelers to make it, who I believe are still in first place technically, or maybe they're in second now. But if I had to pick today, I would say the Ravens are in a great spot. I do want to see their schedule going forward. At Arizona, that should be a win. They're favorites by 8.5. Home versus the Seahawks, home versus the Browns, home versus the Bengals. It's, they got a tough schedule coming up, but the Ravens, I think, are very good. So they should end this year with 10, 11 wins, make the playoffs, and of course, we'll see if Lamar Jackson can shake the whole he can't win in the playoffs narrative out there. As for the Lions, I mean, it happens. You have some bad games once in a while. The Lions had won 4 straight games, but to lose this badly to a good team, it's not what you want to see. Obviously, it kind of feels like the Dolphins. The 2 times the Dolphins have played elite teams this year, they have not looked that great. So, luckily for the Lions, they are home next week against the Raiders. Then they hit their bye week after that. Right now, they're 8-point favorites versus Las Vegas, so they should get that win going into their bye. They could go in at 6-2, so that'd be good for them. But right now, they're 5-2. The Ravens improved to 5-2, and as I said, they're in first place in the North. So what this week taught me, if anything, is that the Ravens should be taken seriously because I think they're very good. The Bills were at the Patriots, and this is why it's so tough to try and predict the NFL because anything could happen. I mean, we've seen how bad the Patriots have looked this year, especially the past 3-4 games. And coming into this, I mean, it was a 7.5 point spread in favor of the Bills, obviously. And somehow, some way, the Patriots found a way to score 29 points and win the game, 29-25. And to make it even better, it was a game-winning drive by Mac Jones. So Mac had looked really bad this year. The Bills scored a touchdown to make it 25-22 with 2 minutes to go. They got a 2-point conversion. So Mac got the ball with 1:58 left, started on his own 25-yard line. The big play was just a dump off to Ramondre Stevenson for 34 yards. And after that, they kind of chewed some clock. He found Hunter Henry on a great pass for 14 yards. And after a pass interference near the 1-yard line, I think it was, the Patriots had the ball on Buffalo's 1. Mac Jones found Mike Gesicki for a 1-yard touchdown, making it 29-25 Patriots. That would ultimately be the game. The Bills had a couple shots at it, but just too little too late. So a great win by the Patriots, who improved to 2-5. The Bills fall to 4-3. So I'm not ready to take the Patriots seriously just yet, but that's an impressive win. As for the Bills, it's just what are they like? I don't know why they're this bad. I have serious questions about their coach, McDermott, even Ken Dorsey, the offensive coordinator. How can you have this much talent and still be this bad offensively? So they started out this game down 13-3. So you just can't have that stuff. I mean, the Bills offense, they had their moments. I know Josh Allen overthrew Stephon Diggs on what would have been an 80-yard touchdown, so that would have helped out a lot. But you just can't have this much talent and just can't win games. I know they lost a lot of defenders. I do feel for them in that regard, but I don't know. To lose to Mac Jones on a game-winning drive is just, you hate to see it. So the Bills have now dropped 2 out of 3. That includes the Jaguar game in London. They barely beat the Giants. Came down to the final play, last 1 yard to go. Barely beat the Giants 2 weeks ago. And this week they lost to the Patriots. So 2 out of 3 games lost. 3 straight spreads they lost. So something's up with the Bills, but maybe on Thursday night here, home against the Buccaneers once again, 8.5 point favorites. Maybe they can just destroy them and get back on track here and have a nice, mini bye and prepare for the Bengals in week 9 in prime time. So that should be fun. But yeah, disappointing one for the Bills. They got to get some type of run game going. It just has not worked out for them this year. I mean, James Cook's been okay. 13 carries for 56 yards. Cook also caught a touchdown. Josh Allen, 2 turnovers, 1 fumble loss, 1 interception. Mac Jones outplayed him today. Got to be honest. Yesterday, Mac Jones was pretty good statistics-wise. 25 of 30, 272 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 sack. I mean, Mac Jones was really good. Did not see that one coming, that's for sure. So, a good win for the Patriots. I believe that's Bill Belichick's 300th career win. He's probably 28 away now from Don Shula and the all-time coaching record for wins. So we'll see if he ever gets there. But yeah, I'm still not taking the Patriots seriously. But as for the Bills, they got to get their stuff together. The Cardinals were at the Seahawks in division matchup here. The Seahawks take this one 20-10. And honestly, neither team looked that impressive. I got to be honest. I mean, the Seahawks are 4-2. So you look at that record, you say, okay, that's a good. But just watching them play, it's just not that impressive. I feel like Geno is not what he was last year. The Seahawks offense in the first half looked fine. They had, 2 touchdowns pretty early. The JSN, I think that might be JSN's first NFL touchdown, 28-yarder. Then there was the crazy one towards the middle of the second quarter to Jake Bobo, 18-yard touchdown. It was actually called incomplete on the field at first, and Pete Carroll had to challenge it, and he just barely, maybe like one blade of grass, got his right foot down, made a fantastic catch, and that gave the Seahawks a 14-10 lead. And, that was pretty much all they needed. They had 2 second-half field goals by Jason Myers, but, I expected a much bigger game from the Seahawks running game, Ken Walker. 26 carries, 105 yards. I mean, 100 yards is still fine, but 4 yards per carry. I still expected a bit more. Maybe I'm being a bit too greedy there. But it just seems like ever since the James Conner injury that the Cardinals offense has no identity whatsoever. They're trying to run the ball with, Dobbs and Emari Demercado. I mean, whoever. It's just not working out for them right now. We'll see if and when they bring Kyler Murray back. It seems like that could be soon, but even he probably can't save this team right now. The Cardinals are now 1-6. They're in last place, and I do believe they're right in the running for the first overall pick. I mean, of course, the Panthers are in front of them, which is technically the Bears because they have that pick from the Bears and Panthers trade. But yeah, I mean, the Cardinals, there's really no incentive to win at this point. Maybe you get Kyler back and let him play out the second half of the year. You may trade him. He may be the quarterback for the next 5 to 7 years. I have no idea. It is a new regime, though. It's Monty Ossenfort. It's Jonathan Gannon. I always get him and Shane Steichen confused. But yeah, Jonathan Gannon. So yeah, they have no reason to be loyal to Kyler Murray. This is not their guy, but we'll see what happens and what pick the Cardinals end up getting. And the Cardinals do have the Texans' first-round pick this year as well. So if they have to try and move up possibly, they can do that. So they have the assets. But as for Seattle, they did lose Uchenna Nwosu, who's probably their best edge rusher, to a torn pec, probably out for the season. So that's a very critical loss for them. We'll see if they maybe trade for an edge rusher or something. I don't know. But the Seahawks pass rush was good in this game. Dobbs was sacked 4 times, and their defense has looked okay, I guess, at some points. I want to see what they've been doing lately. I know the Giants only scored 3 against them, but even against the Bengals, they held them to 17 points. That's impressive. Before that, they weren't very good. But the past 3 games or so, the Seahawks defense has been really good. They've only allowed, 33 points in the past 3 games. I mean, that's very good. So, maybe Seattle's defense is coming around here at the right time, but the offense and specifically Geno Smith have to be a bit better. Steelers at the Rams. The Steelers coming off their bye. They did get Deontay Johnson back. Great news for them. And he was okay in this game. What did he do? He had 50, 60 yards. He was 5 catches for 79 yards. Okay, not bad. George Pickens over 100. But anyway, biggest play in this game, biggest moment was the Steelers up by 7. It was 24-17, which was the final score. They had a 4th and 1 on the LA 39-yard line. They decide to go for it, which I think makes sense. It's 1 yard away. They run a QB sneak with Kenny Pickett, who on the broadcast looked to be very short of the first down marker. They somehow gave him the spot, which I just don't get. You bring out the ref, you got to take all these bodies off the ball and all that. You're going to lose your spot. I don't know how a ref is supposed to, look at the ball and just know, like, and take all these bodies off of Kenny Pickett and still know where the spot is. Like, it just makes no sense. This is like a billion-dollar industry here, the NFL, and you still can't find a way to accurately spot the ball. And the worst part is the Rams had no timeouts left, so they couldn't challenge the spot of the ball. It was over 2 minutes, so they were just kind of effed, and that was it. Like, not saying it would have changed the outcome. I'm sure, like, it would have been tough to go down the length of the field and have the Rams score a touchdown there and tie the game. But still, I mean, to lose off of that in 2023 when you have all this technology, it's just crazy. So that was pretty much the final play of the game. Just Kenny Pickett kneeled the ball 3 times, and that was it. Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren each had a touchdown, so that was pretty nice to see for them. The Rams' touchdown before halftime was pretty crazy. Matthew Stafford rolled out to his left, and I think he was looking for Cooper Kupp, but somehow Tutu Atwell came out of nowhere, and he's like 5'7", 5'8", like 170. Like, he comes out of nowhere and catches this jump ball and gets a touchdown. So that was the Rams' first touchdown of the game, making it 9-3. But the Rams, they took a 17-10 lead early third quarter. The Steelers, who always tend to find their way back in the fourth quarter, had the 2 touchdowns by Najee and Jaylen Warren, and they won the game 24-17. So yeah, you can say that they, the Rams were kind of cheated by the refs, and you can make that argument. I still don't get how we can't accurately spot the ball in 2023. Like, you watch tennis, for instance. I don't watch tennis, but you see tennis, and they can, like, use technology to find out exactly where the ball is hitting on the tennis courts. But we can't find out where the NFL football is supposed to be placed in 2023. So, just crazy stuff. The Rams fall to 3-4. The Steelers somehow are 4-2. They do not feel like a 4-2 team. And as I said before, I picked the Steelers to make the playoffs. It's just like the Falcons. I picked them and the Steelers to make the playoffs. They're doing fine record-wise, but I feel like those teams are not that good. So, maybe sooner or later the losses start catching up with them, but somehow, some way, the Steelers get it done. Kenny Pickett was 17-25 for 230. No touchdowns, no turnovers. Seems like the Steelers held Cooper Kupp in check. He was, 2 catches for 29 yards. Wow. Puka Nacua was the guy today. 8 catches for 154. He had an amazing catch in the third quarter as well. So, maybe Cooper Kupp and Cooper Kupp and Nacua will go back and forth every week for which guy dominates, which may not be good for fantasy football, of course. But as for the Rams running back situation, that was interesting because Kyren Williams was placed on IR. They used Royce Freeman and Darrell Henderson, who was on the team last year and the previous 3 years before that. So Henderson and Royce Freeman seem to be the running backs for this team now. So we'll see if they can carry the load while Kyren Williams is out. Royce Freeman had a 5.5 per carry, 3.4 a carry for Henderson. Henderson did have a touchdown as well. So, look, the Steelers are fine. Record-wise, they're fine. The Rams are still competitive, but they have to get these wins going eventually. They're 3-4. Let's see what the Rams' upcoming schedule is. I'm sure they have tough games coming up. Yes, they do. At Dallas next week, then at Green Bay, which is probably not that hard these days. Then home versus Seattle, at Arizona. So, they have 3 pretty easy games coming up. I wouldn't say Seattle's easy, but they could win that game. But at Dallas is tough. The Steelers coming up have the Jaguars at home, the Titans at home, and the Packers at home. So 3 straight home games, all very winnable. Right now, the Jags are 2.5-point road favorites in Pittsburgh, so we'll see what happens there, but that should be a fun game. The Chargers were at the Chiefs. I was thinking this game might be a bit closer than it was, but the Chiefs took this one 31-17. Kansas City improves to 6-1, so they have won 6 in a row since that opening night loss by 1 point to the Lions, without Travis Kelce, of course. The Chargers are 2-4. Not good. So they got to 2-2. They, of course, lost by 3 to Dallas last Monday night. Then they lose here against Kansas City. They do get the Bears coming up, which should be an automatic win, but, it's the Chargers, so you never know. Then they're at the Jets, home versus the Lions, at Green Bay. They have some winnable games here, but they feel like a 500 team right now, if that. It's time for the Justin Herbert conversation. It really is. I defend Justin Herbert all the time, but I feel like with, coming up short last week with the interception versus the Cowboys, you had, a game-stealing interception in this game as well. I mean, how many more excuses can we make for the guy? Someone on Twitter or X compared Justin Herbert to Lions Matthew Stafford, and I feel like right now that's a perfect comp. A guy with an incredible arm, he'll make the highlight plays, but for some reason, whether it's him or the organization, he's just not a winner. And so far we've seen, Herbert has not won any big games. I mean, he made the playoffs last year. They blew the 25-0 lead, whatever it was, and that sucked to see. I was hoping this year they could bounce back, but so far it does not happen. I don't want to overreact too much because I feel like they will beat the Bears next week. They could beat the Jets the week after, get back to 4-4, and kind of start like a whole brand new season at 500. But so far it's disappointing, and I got to say Justin Herbert has not played well enough. I mean, his wide receiver 1, I guess wide receiver 2 technically, is out for the year with Mike Williams. They drafted Quentin Johnston. He has not worked out so far. I don't know why they made that pick. I'm not that high on him in general, especially with Zay Flowers and Jordan Addison sitting right there behind him. But 2 interceptions for Herbert in this game. On the other side, Patrick Mahomes had 424 yards, 4 touchdowns, did have 1 interception, but Mahomes was electric in this game. Travis Kelce put together an incredible stat line, his best stat line of the year. He had 12 catches for 179 yards and 1 touchdown. MVS had 84 yards and a touchdown. Rashee Rice, 60 yards and a touchdown. Pacheco had a receiving touchdown as well. So the Chiefs, I mean, they're just making it work. They did not run the ball well in this game. I think Mahomes had 2 nice long scrambles, but aside from that, their running game was non-existent. It seemed like the secondary for the Chargers was non-existent. Like, who the hell was out there? It seemed like every time Mahomes was back to pass, Kelce had no one within 10 yards of him. You had Rashee Rice open, MVS running open downfield. Just an awful game for the Chargers defense. They couldn't get pressure either. So, yeah, tough to win like that against a quarterback like Mahomes. You know what else pisses me off about the Chargers? Joshua Kelly. This guy, when Eckler was out, Joshua Kelly was so useless. He was getting like 1.2 yards per carry. And then, of course, Eckler comes back, and now Joshua Kelly wants to run for a 50-yard touchdown. It just feels like when he's the starter, the guy does nothing. But when he's the backup, he's all of a sudden very efficient. So I don't know what's up with Josh Kelly, but yeah, that part's annoying as well. But the Chargers defense has to be better. It's time to start questioning Justin Herbert. Almost no points in the second half, aside from a Chiefs touchdown with 3 minutes to go. No points in the third quarter and for most of the fourth quarter. So, the Chargers had this game tied at one point. It was 17-17 with, it was at halftime, right? No, it was 24-17 at halftime, but still, it was 17-17 mid-fourth quarter. So they were in this game, but it got away from them, and the Chiefs right now are just in a different tier of team right now than the Chargers. It is what it is. So KC going forward, we'll see what their matchups are. They're 8-point favorites versus the Broncos next week at Denver. Then they play a 9:30 a.m. game against the Dolphins, which I'm assuming is London, I guess. And then after that's the Eagles. So 2 tough matchups in weeks 9 and weeks 11. I guess they have a week 10 bye. So the Chiefs will definitely be challenged coming up after that Broncos game. So that's exciting to see. But as for the Chargers, they got to get it together because right now it ain't looking too good. I forgot to go over this game. Not that we missed much anyway, but the Packers at the Broncos. The Broncos had a nice comeback win. 19-17 victory for Denver, picking up their second win of the year. The Packers fall to 2-4. They've now dropped 3 straight. This was coming off a bye. They got Aaron Jones back. They're like pretty much fully healthy. You're thinking, all right, this is time for the Packers and Jordan Love. They play a crappy defense in the Broncos. They should have a great offensive outing. No points in the first half. They scored 17 in the second half, but a bad Jordan Love interception led to the eventual, win for the Denver Broncos. So, yeah, I mean, it's tough to see that. You have enough weapons, I feel like. I feel like Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon are a fine running back duo. I feel like the Packers' offensive line is not that bad. I know Bakhtiari's out for the year, I believe. As for Jordan Love, I mean, I'm just not that impressed. He really confuses me because Jordan Love will give you 4 really impressive throws where you're like, wow, all right. I mean, he read the defense. He placed the ball in a tight window. Okay. Good arm strength, good location. But I feel like now their offense is not as vertical as it once was. I feel like now they're keeping everything short. They really took no deep shots in this game, which is disappointing. Like, you have Christian Watson, who did get hurt late in this game. I think it was the last play, actually, but I think the results showed he should be fine. I just traded for him in fantasy, so I hope he's fine. But that was rough to see, of course. But yeah, I mean, once again, you played a bad defense. You had 2 weeks to prepare, and even one of Jordan Love's touchdown passes was a fourth down and 2, where it hit off his first receiver's like shoulder and went to another guy. It was like a tipped ball caught by his own teammate. So it was a lucky touchdown reception off of Romeo Doubs and caught by Jaden Reed, I believe it was. But I'm just not impressed by this team. I'm really not. Like, Denver is not good, obviously. They had the 1 touchdown to Cortland Sutton. Outside of that, it was 4 field goals by Will Lutz. I mean, the Broncos are nothing impressive. Russell Wilson has not been good this year for the most part. Russ was 20 for 29, just under 200 yards, 1 touchdown. You know, Javonte Williams, 15 carries, 82 yards. A.J. Dillon had 15 carries still, even with Aaron Jones coming back. There might have been a snap count, though, coming off the hamstring injury. But yeah, a disappointing loss for the Packers. Definitely have to have a game like that. They could have been 3-3. Now they're 2-4. Big difference. The Broncos improve to 2-5. Coming up, the Packers have the Vikings, they have the Rams, and they have the Steelers. Steelers is on the road. The other 2 are at home. Right now, the Packers are 2.5-point favorites against the Vikings. Wow, okay. Right now, the Vikings are up 7-0 versus the Niners. Jordan Addison had a touchdown. The Broncos coming up. Oh my gosh, they have the Chiefs and the Bills coming up. So yikes, the Broncos will probably fall to 2-7 unless something crazy happens. Dolphins at Eagles. This was another game I was on the right side of. I just felt like the Eagles were in a better spot here. And you know, we have not seen the Dolphins beat an elite team yet. I mean, not to discredit the Dolphins, but you look at some of the games they've won this year. Let's just go down the list of who they beat. I know they beat the Chargers in week 1, which, like, okay, like maybe that's a semi-impressive victory, but I think now we know the Chargers are not that great. They beat the Patriots by 7. Beat Sean Payton and the Broncos by 50. Okay. But then you lose 48-20 at Buffalo. That's a good team for the most part. Maybe not right now, but at that time, Buffalo was a really good team. You beat the Giants. I mean, not too impressive. You beat the Panthers. I mean, they were down 14-0 in that game. Then you lose this game as well. So, I mean, I don't know where the Dolphins are at. They may not be as good as we think they are. They're on pace to be like a historic offense. I'm not taking that away from them, but, you know, maybe they're not in that, like, category with the Eagles, with the 49ers, with the Chiefs. Like, they might be in that next tier down. So maybe, like, you know, maybe pump the brakes on the Dolphins a bit, but, you know, at least Tua is still healthy. He didn't have his best game for sure. He was kind of forcing things. That 1 interception he threw was awful. Definitely not like him to force that kind of pass. You know, the Dolphins defense even created an opportunity. They had a pick 6 in this game. Jerome Baker had a pick 6 on a tip ball. So their defense helped a bit, but still, I mean, A.J. Brown's been amazing lately. I feel like ever since that game, A.J. Brown complained about his targets. He's been unbelievable. Let's see what he finished with. Even that touchdown catch A.J. Brown had, he caught like a slant, and it looked like he'd be 5 yards short of the end zone, but he just like pushed a guy off him and just walked in. So such a strong guy, of course. I mean, A.J. Brown, 10 catches, 137 yards, 1 touchdown. Dallas Goedert, 77 yards and a touchdown as well. Kenneth Gainwell had the final touchdown in this game for the Eagles. And the Eagles picked up Kevin Byard today for, they traded Terrell Edmonds in like a 5th and a 6th round pick, or a 6th and a 7th, something like that. So they get a very good safety, 30 years old. Most of his contract's already paid. So another great move by Howie Roseman, the Eagles GM. So, yeah, the Eagles are in a great spot. They still don't look as good as they did last year, but they're winning games. They're 6-1. They randomly lost that game to the Jets last week, but aside from that, they've been undefeated. They are at the Commanders next week, 6.5-point favorites. Then comes that really, really tough stretch of games. home versus Dallas, at KC, home versus Buffalo, home versus the Niners, at Dallas, at Seattle. They finish up with the Giants twice and the Cardinals in between, so that's good. But that schedule from weeks 9 through 15 is very tough for Philly. Got to make it through this Washington game healthy and take it from there. But the Eagles obviously can compete with anybody. As for the Dolphins, I mean, I don't feel great about them right now, but they're a team you don't want to play at home once again. They when you're in good weather and all that stuff, you don't want to play that team. Yes, Jalen Waddle got hurt in this game, so that definitely hurt their offense. But, they had some missed opportunities. The Tua interception, Tyreek Hill dropped a touchdown. Probably would have been a touchdown. He dropped a slant. He had a wide open field in front of him, so he probably would have scored. But, they beat themselves in some ways, but you got to beat good teams eventually. You can't keep beating these, middle to bottom teams and expect to, make noise in the playoffs. I mean, if the Dolphins hypothetically are on the road at Buffalo in the playoffs when it's cold out, I don't trust them to win that game. So that's the downside to that team. So we'll see if they get it together. We'll see how they do against the Chiefs in a couple weeks on that 9:30 a.m. game. As for the Eagles, we'll see what happens in that tough stretch. But right now they're 6-1. As I said, they probably should be 7-0. So that one loss is, not good for them. But we'll see what happens tonight with the 5-1 San Francisco 49ers. All right, so I think that's going to do it because I went out of order. This is technically the last clip I'm doing, but I hope you guys enjoyed the Week 7 recap. If you stayed this long, leave a like, of course. Consider subscribing, and I'll talk to you guys next time.